Welcome to the Sports Talks 4133 YouTube channel. Today it's Saturday in November, so you know what that means. It's college game day, the second to last full college football Saturday of the year. Week 13 of college football day. But before we go into the whole college football talks, we got to talk about the other three sports real quick. College basketball, NBA, and NHL. We'll make this quick. If you want to skip forward just into college football, go right ahead. Let's start off in the college basketball world yesterday. First, since we last talked on yesterday's podcast, a lot of stuff went down. And along with, we'll talk about one quick game going on today. First up, the University of Miami drops another loss last night in the college basketball world, losing 80-74 over Oklahoma State. Miami now 2 straight losses. So, how does Miami... What are they doing wrong? And it seems to be that something is not clicking here. We're losing to teams like Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, no offense, but is not the best team. They really aren't. They're one of the worst in the Big 12. They struggle almost every year, and they beat Miami. Miami's got to figure it out. They really do. I mean, this is 2 bad losses now. Drake and Oklahoma State. After they lost to Drake, I thought it was just an upset, but see him lose back-to-back now. Maybe this Miami team is not nearly as good as we thought. Next up here, Vanderbilt is 6-0 on the year after beating Seton Hall yesterday 76-60. Vanderbilt last year had 9 wins in the entirety of the season. They already have 6 through their first 6 games of the year. So what is Vanderbilt doing right this year? Really everything. It feels like kind of like how their football team was. They came out and they beat Alabama. That's kind of how the basketball team feels in a way. Like they're 6-0, they're winning games, they're getting the job done, and they're moving on. Winning by 16 points yesterday against a very solid Seton Hall team. Looks impressive to me. They really do. They look very impressive to me. And next up, the big upset of the night, I would say personally, but there's 2 big upsets. But the bigger one, Elon beats Notre Dame last night, 84-77. They were 15.5-point underdogs, and they outright won by 7. Notre Dame basketball is just not that good as it used to be. It's been off for a few years now. Really since like 2020, it's been off. And it is what it is. It's basketball. They have a huge football game today. I think that the students care a lot more about the football team than the basketball team. But Notre Dame just isn't the same as they once were in basketball. It's time to move on, I feel like. And you go, well, it's an upset. True, maybe, but they don't look that good right now. Next up, Nebraska goes and beats number 14 Creighton 74-63 last night. That huge rivalry game out in Nebraska. Nebraska's now won back-to-back games in Creighton. Yes, you heard that right. And even though Nebraska doesn't usually necessarily do the best in the Big Ten, they looked good last night against a number 14 Creighton team who is my Big East winner prediction. And they beat them by 9. They beat them by 11. A great win from Nebraska, though. Next up, number 11 Tennessee beats number 13 Baylor, 77-62. I think it's time to say it. Baylor's not nearly as good as we thought they were. This is now another bad loss against a ranked team. They lost by 40 against Gonzaga, and they lost by 15 against Tennessee. Baylor was getting destroyed in the first half. They got lucky to even make it somewhat of a game in the second half. They still lost by 15. It wasn't like it was anything close, but yeah. Next up, Duke beats number 17 Arizona 69-55, a 14-point win for Duke last night. I actually kind of thought this was going to happen. I thought Duke was a lot better than Arizona, even though it was in Arizona. The crowd was there. It was across country, but that didn't stop Duke from getting this job easily done. And college basketball today, the big game of the day comes on at 11 a.m. in the Bahamas today. Number 15 Marquette taking on Georgia. I'm taking Marquette in that one. There's not that many good college basketball games today because it's college football game day. Anyways, let's move into the NBA last night. Just the one game I want to talk about, the Mavericks taking care of the Denver Nuggets 123-120. In the first half of this game, the Mavericks were just dominating the Nuggets. They really were. It felt like every way, shape possible. I thought Kyrie looked really nice in the first half. But in the second half, the Nuggets got right back in this game, but ultimately the Mavericks were able to pull it out and win by 3. To me, it looks like this Mavericks team is a scary team. And I don't think the Nuggets are necessarily at their best ball yet. They will be soon, though. And speaking of the Nuggets, that brings us into our NBA game of the night. The Nuggets and the Lakers at 10:30 on NBA TV. Give me the Lakers, honestly. I'm not really super high on this Nuggets team right now. I feel like they're losing a lot of bad games. And yeah, So let's move into the NHL real quick. The Jets beat the Penguins last night 4-1. The Jets improved to 17-3-0 on the year. I've been talking about this Jets team a lot in the last week in the hockey world. This Jets team looks amazing. They really do. Everything they've done this year has just looked correct. You know, they looked amazing on defense. They look amazing on offense. They look like an amazing hockey team out there. And ultimately, I think they're just a great team. And in the NHL today, 15 NHL hockey games coming down today here. Yes, 15, 30 of the 32 hockey teams in action. So it's kind of hard to pick the game of the night. But I ultimately chose the Rangers and the Oilers tonight. Should be a fun one out in Edmonton. The Rangers, very fast-paced team. Oilers, very fast-paced team. Both teams really love to, go fast, try to score as many goals as they can. I mean, they both have great defenses, but that's kind of how they play. Give me the Oilers to win. And now let's move into the college football world. Yeah, I was just kind of skimming through it real quick because, obviously everyone's here for the college football talks, I would assume. And started off in the NCAA football last night. Michigan State survives 24-17 over the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue now 1-10 on the year. Michigan State at 5-6. Michigan State did not score in the second half last night. They scored all 24 of their points in the first half. They were dominating the game, and they kind of let Purdue get right back into it. Purdue scored 3 points in the first half. It was a 21-point game. Purdue scores 2 touchdowns in the second half and still lost. To me, Purdue just is a bad football team. Let's just be honest. They're going to finish up their year next Saturday. They're playing Indiana. That line's going to be somewhere I would think somewhere in the 30s. Just because, how great Indiana's looked and how bad Purdue has looked this year. So, yeah, let's move into the college football world today. So, what college football games are we going to talk about? We're talking about all the college football games that have playoff implications today. Teams that are in the playoffs that, need this win or it could be a trap game maybe. Starting off here at 12 o'clock, we've got number 9 Ole Miss taking on Florida. And you're probably going, how is this really a, playoff implication game? It's not for Florida, obviously. They're 5-5. The season's over for Florida. But they can play spoiler. They just come off of a nice win over LSU. They still need to get one more win to get to a bowl game, but they play Florida State next week, so I'd imagine they're going to win that game. But they're going to host a number 9 Ole Miss team, who's 8-2, coming off of a bye week. And before that, they beat Georgia. And Ole Miss, they're a great team. They really are. They're arguably the hottest team in college football right now, in my opinion. No one, everyone on College Game Day has been saying, you don't want to play this Ole Miss team right now. And I absolutely agree. This team is really hot. They have one of the best offenses and defenses in the country. I would say they have the best defense in the country and a top 5 offense in the country right now. That's how great this team has been this year for this Ole Miss squad. But Florida's got the atmosphere there. DJ Lagway is going to have to try to, as a freshman quarterback, have to put this team on his back today and try to win this game. Do I think they do it? No. I'm taking Ole Miss in this one. But obviously, I'll get into my, picks later. But yeah, I'm going to take, it's going to be a very tight game. I think both teams are going to be very physical. I think the atmosphere is going to be there. But it's going to be a very fun and very tight game. The next game here in the playoff implications is Wake Forest versus Miami. Do I think Wake Forest is going to win this game? Absolutely not. But I think that you need to talk about it in more sense of the ACC run right now. Because in the ACC standings right now, the top 3 teams have SMU, Clemson, and Miami. Clemson and Miami have 1 ACC loss, and SMU is undefeated. SMU, we'll get into them in just a bit. They take on Virginia today. Miami needs to be perfect these last 2 games. They have 2 easy games. Wake Forest, and then Syracuse, actually. Syracuse is not as easy as we thought. I mean, they're 7-3. They're 4-3 in conference play. Syracuse looks good this year, but it should be an easy win for Miami. The thing about it is, this Miami team is just so unpredictable right now. They play so many close games, you don't know if they're going to win anymore. And they're going to have to take on this Wake Forest team today, who pretty awful. I mean, they're 2-4 in conference play. They're 4-6 overall in the year. Their best win this year, I guess, is NC State. They just don't look good. They really don't. So I think it's going to be a blowout, but we'll see. It's obviously a playoff implication game. Next up here, this is a huge game at 12 o'clock for SMU. Number 13 SMU travels to Virginia to take on the 5-5 Virginia Cavaliers. You look at this game and go, dude, what are you talking about? Let me tell you, Virginia's head coach, 2-4 since he took over in 2022 for this Virginia squad. 6-0 against the spread. Last time they played a ranked team was Pitt earlier this year. They beat them. This Virginia team knows how to compete with ranked teams. They do. And SMU, this is a trap game, I feel like, almost for them. In a sense. They finish up the year against Cal next week, right? Now, that's not really what they're looking for. They're just trying to go, all right, we need what? 1 to 2 more wins, depending on tiebreakers, and we're in the ACC title game. Where if you win that, we're in the playoff. But they also need to have the mindset of, what happens in a state of the world where, say, we win out, but we lose in the ACC title game? Are we still going to be able to be in? So they have to finish out the year, I'd say, undefeated, and then if they can lose in the ACC title game, it'd be fine. Because right now, they're 13th in the country. They're sitting right outside of the playoff, which is a little bit disrespectful in my eyes. I think the SMU's only loss here is the BYU back in week 2. It was back on September 6th. It's been a long time since they lost the game. They won 8 games straight. I mean, I don't know. It feels a little disrespectful to me saying that this SMU team shouldn't be in the top 12 right now. But it's gonna be a lot closer than I think people realize. The next game with playoff implications, we're gonna come back to Indiana, Ohio State. That's a later thing. We're gonna move down all the way into the 3:30 window now, because a lot of these 1 to 3 o'clock games just don't have any playoff implications. We have Colorado versus Kansas. Colorado sits at 8-2 on the year, and I would say controls their own destiny to a college. What I mean by that is, I think they could win out and then maybe lose in the Big 12 title game and still be in. It'll be close. It will be close because that Nebraska loss was terrible back in week 2, so they need to kind of brush that away, in my eyes. But they're going to a hostile 4-6 Kansas team who might be the best below 500 team in the country by far. And you're probably going, dude, they've got some bad losses, which is true. They do. But this Kansas team has their last 2 games let's go in their last 3 games. They're 2-1. They played 3 straight ranked opponents. They played 2 number 16 Kansas State, lost by 2. Played number 17 Iowa State, beat them 45-36. And last weekend went to number 6 BYU and beat them 17-13. This is the hottest 4-6 team in the country right now. They are a team that you do not want to mess with at all. Because Colorado is going to probably look at this game and go, oh, this should be a breezy, easy win. But it's not. Kansas is going to give Colorado problems today. They match up great on the defensive side of the football. Kansas's defense should be able to stop Travis Hunter. So how's Colorado going to be able to find ways where, you may have to leave your best player out of this situation today? They have some other great guys on this team. Don't get me wrong. But this Colorado team is going to have to rely on different guys. You've got great weapons. You can go to Darlon Miller. He had 2 touchdowns last weekend. He had a touchdown last weekend against Utah. You can go to Lester, who also has had a very solid year for this Colorado team. Overall, though, Colorado, this is a trap game for them. You have to just go into Kansas, get the win, and get out. They're only 2.5-point favorites. Even Vegas thinks, this is going to be a tight game today. And yeah, we'll get into the picks later, but it's a huge, huge, huge game for Colorado. Next up, I'm going to talk about it very broadly. Kentucky takes on Texas today. The 9-1 Texas Longhorns hosting number 4, the 4-6 Kentucky Wildcats are going, dude, Texas is a 20.5-point favorite. Why would it really have anything at all? This is a trap game for Texas today. It is. It is a trap game for Texas today. They are 9-1. They play Texas A&M next week, which they haven't played in a very long time, which is a huge rivalry game since A&M went to the SEC. A&M looks good. They're 15th in the country. It's in A&M. Kentucky is another great 4-6 team with wins over number 6 Ole Miss, lost by 1 point to Georgia, was in it with Tennessee. Kentucky's there. They're ready to play football. They're gonna give Texas more problems than they may think. And it may turn out being a 30-point win. But I think Texas is gonna have to work for this game a bit more than they think. I really do. But there's not much really to say here. Next up, 3:30 p.m., I would say the second best college football game of the day. Number 14, BYU, and number 21, Arizona State. There is an easy path for Arizona State to get in the college football playoff. And I'm going to tell you it right here, right now. Plain and simple. Ready? Beat BYU today, beat Arizona next weekend, right? That automatically would put them in the Big 12 title game because they would have beaten BYU, which would put them ahead of BYU, and then you can give Colorado the spot. Boom, you're in the Big 12 title game, win the Big 12 title game, you're probably in. And now I say probably. The reason I say that is, if Army beats Notre Dame today, there is a great shot that Army could be ahead of some of these. This could be ahead of the Big 12 title winner. And it's weird to think about it. There's a chance that no Big 12 title team can get in the college football playoff. And I don't think it will. I would say they would just really like Army just to lose because they can add, Boise State can get in. That's fine. But it's still there for Arizona State. They have a great path to the playoff. They're arguably the most underrated team in the country right now in my eyes. Next up, Penn State versus Minnesota. The 9-1, number 4 ranked in the country. Penn State and the Lions traveling to Minnesota today. Minnesota only 11.5-point underdogs today. And why is that? And to be honest, I'm not quite sure. Minnesota is one of the better teams in the Big 12, the Big 10 this year. They're going to give Penn State some problems in my eyes. Because Penn State, all right, they finish the year next week against Maryland. That's not like a trap game. Right now, Minnesota is the 7th best team in the Big 10 right now. Record-wise in the Big 10. They're 4-3. So I think they're going to give Penn State some problems today just because, Penn State's got to just think about ways, Penn State still has somewhat of a path to the Big 10 title game. They need 3 things to happen. Number 1, they win out. Number 2, Ohio State beats Indiana today. Number 3, Michigan beats Ohio State next weekend. And they're playing Oregon in the Big 10 title game. No one talks about it. And now they need a big thing in there, which is Michigan to beat Ohio State. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. But there's a chance. It's a rivalry game. Who knows? Rivalry games have upsets all the time. Remember a few years ago when Clemson played South Carolina? South Carolina had nothing left. But they just went into Clemson and beat them? That's what it could be. I think Penn State's got a 10% chance to get in the playoff. Excuse me. They have like a 95% chance. 10% chance to be in the Big 10 title game. I think it's there. Next up in playoff indications, moving us into the 7 o'clock window tonight. Army taking on Notre Dame, number 19. Army sitting in the year at 9-0 on the season. Gets number 6 Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium tonight, a neutral site game. Army has the second easiest strength of schedule in the entire FBS country. So how does Army going to win this game? To be honest, there's 3 things that need to happen. I know I'm talking about these things, this. Number 1, control the pace of game. If you let Notre Dame hold on this ball longer than you're going to lose this football game. Flat out, plain and simple. Number 2, run the ball. You need to run the ball today. I think Army needs to run the football. You have Kanye Ugo. You have so many great Army. This Army running back duo is insane. Like I already mentioned, Kanye Ugo. But you also have Bryson Daly, who's a quarterback, who's a great rusher. So, how do they get this done? And the third thing that needs to happen is the defense needs to step up. This Notre Dame offense has looked amazing all year. Since their loss to Northern Illinois, since their loss back on September 7th to Northern Illinois, the lowest amount of points they've scored in a game was 28 points against Miami, Ohio. Yeah. This Notre Dame team is hot. They're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They lost to Northern Illinois, said, I understand it now, and look where they are now. I think Army is going to give them a lot of trouble. I think it's a 14-point spread. It is very, very, very disrespectful to this Army's program. I think Army's got a great shot. We'll get my picks, obviously, later. Next up, we'll quickly talk about it. Number 12, Boise State will travel to Laramie, Wyoming today to take on the Wyoming Cowboys. Is it a playoff implication game? I guess so, with Boise State being, in the playoff right now. Right now, if the season ended right now, Boise State is the top 4. If the season ended right now, Boise State's got a first-round bye because it's the top 5 highest conference champion winners get the top 4 spot. Doesn't mean it has to be the top 4. It doesn't mean it's the Power 4 conferences. It's just top 5. Or excuse me, the top 4 get buys. Anyways, the next game here I want to talk about, Washington State, Oregon State. You're going, this is a playoff game. I know that. But it's the Pac-2 conference game today. These two teams are going to meet twice against each other next year, which is really interesting, a new thing of college football for sure. Imagine they did that with everyone. You had 2 games against like 2 different teams, or 3 different teams. You know, imagine like Michigan playing Ohio State, Michigan State, and maybe Minnesota twice, you know? Like, that'd just be really weird to say. But Washington State plays Oregon State today. And it's in Oregon State. Obviously, we'll get in the picks in a bit. Oregon State not having the best year, sitting at 4-6. Once the Pac-12 left, so did their entire team. Washington State looks good. They're 8-2. They're in my top 25. I have them at 25, and you're probably going, you're an idiot. Say what you want. This Washington State team's got some great wins under their belt this year. And just needed to be talked about real quick with the lone Pac-2 game today. Next up, we have number 15, Texas A&M, traveling to Auburn tonight. This is a trap game. Did I say it? Do I need to say it again? This is a trap game for Texas A&M. Texas A&M's coach got asked earlier this week, how are you guys going to, you have Texas in a few weeks. How do you guys stay focused on Auburn? And he goes, we're just focusing on Texas. I mean, Auburn? Even the head coach isn't focused on Auburn. If your head coach is not focused on the team you're playing this week, it's a trap game. And I know Auburn's not the best. They're 4-6. They can't win SEC football games, really. They can't close them out. They can't. You watch out. The War Eagle at night in Auburn. You watch out, buddy. It's going to be a tight game for A&M. Number 7:30, we have number 7 Alabama taking on Oklahoma tonight on ABC. A very weak Saturday night game on ABC. It feels like every week the Saturday night game is arguably the best game of the week. You make an argument, it probably wasn't, but it's up there. It's one of the better games. This game's just, in my eyes, not very good. I can see Oklahoma keeping it somewhat close. They're 5-5. They need to go 1-1 in their last 2 games of the season, including a game against LSU next week. Which, wow, I mean, I think Bama's going to win, though. I think Bama's a way better team than Oklahoma. Oklahoma just is not having the year that they wanted. This is a rough awakening into the SEC for them, for sure. Iowa State takes on Utah tonight. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to talk about this one for about 10 seconds. Iowa State is going to dominate this football game tonight. Utah looks terrible. They have too many injuries on the year. That's it. Nothing crazy to be said, really. Next thing, just one more game I want to talk about here. It doesn't really have any playoff implications, but I just want to talk about it a little bit. USC takes on UCLA tonight. The battle of the Southern California teams. A huge rivalry game between these two squads, meeting in the Big Ten tonight at 10:30 on NBC. Like the big after the big late night game tonight. I would say. I mean, unless you want to watch 2 Mountain West games, I think you would say this is the best game of the night in the late night window. It's a fun game. 5-5 USC, 4-6 UCLA. 2 teams that probably want to be in better spots, but. We'll see what happens today. Remember last year when UCLA beat USC in the Coliseum. I don't understand why this isn't played on the last week of the season. I'm not really sure. But let's move in now to college game day predictions. We're gonna go with just some other games. I'm gonna throw in some other ones. We're gonna predict a few. First up, North Carolina takes on Boston College State at 12 o'clock on CW. I'm gonna be honest. This is a ACC game that doesn't really mean too much for both teams. Give me North Carolina. Number 9, Ole Miss taking on the Florida Gators today in the Swamp. I mean, was it hard to be said? Give me Ole Miss over the Florida Gators today. I just think this is arguably the hottest team in the country right now at Ole Miss. Give me the Rebs over the Gators. Next up here, again, we'll skip over the Indiana-Ohio State game. We'll come back to that. That's how we'll wrap things up. We're going to move into the 3:30 window. Colorado taking on Kansas State in a huge game like we said already. Give me Colorado to beat Kansas today. I think they're going to avoid losing this one. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a great game. But Colorado knows what's at stake right now. Give me Colorado to win. Next up, Kentucky takes on Texas today. Give me Texas. It's right simple. Number 14, BYU taking on number 21, Arizona State today. Should be a fun thriller of a game. You know what? Give me Arizona State to beat BYU today. I think it's going to happen. This Arizona State team has looked amazing the past few weeks. They're finally getting the respect they deserve, and they're going to beat BYU in Arizona State today. They're going to beat them at home. They're going to rush the field. It's going to be a great night for Arizona State. Next up, number 4, Penn State versus Minnesota. Give me Penn State. I think it's not really a trap game. Next up, let's go to Pitt versus Louisville today. You know, we didn't talk about this one. There's not really many playoff implications on this one. I just love saying that word, playoff implications. Number 7-3, Pitt takes on 6-4 Louisville today. I'm gonna be honest. Give me Louisville, I guess. This is gonna be a dumpster fire of a game. I feel like two teams that had some great chances to get in the playoff just wiped them out the window. Next up, especially after Louisville beat Clemson too, it was like they might actually have a shot to do this. But Army taking on Notre Dame tonight here, 7 o'clock on NBC. I love America. I salute our troops, but I am going with Notre Dame tonight. Boo me if you want. I know. I'm sorry. I just think Notre Dame is going to win this football game tonight. I just don't think Army's going to have a shot with how this Notre Dame team has looked the past few weeks. I love America. I love Army, Navy. Thank you all for our service, but I am going with Notre Dame tonight here to beat Army. It's a boring pick, I know, but it is what it is. Next up, Washington State, Arizona State in the Pac-2 game tonight here. And I almost took Oregon State, but I decided not to. I'm going with Washington State. I was thinking the atmosphere is going to be loud there, but this Oregon State team has looked bad this year. This Washington State team, in my eyes, was a top 25 team still. Give me Washington State to knock off Oregon State tonight here. A&M Auburn. If Auburn knew how to win close SEC games, automatically pick him tonight. But they don't know how to win close SEC football games. Give me Texas A&M. Alabama, Oklahoma. I guess I'll just give you the pick. Give me Alabama. Iowa State, Utah. Iowa State, like we said. Vanderbilt, LSU. 7:45 tonight. I didn't really break this one down because I didn't really think it was really worth it. 2 6-4 teams on the year. It's funny looking at this game and going, one team is super hyped they're 6-4. The other team is absolutely miserable that they're 6-4. Vanderbilt, supposed to win 4 games this year, and they're at 6-4 right now with 2 weeks left. LSU's playoff season's over. They're 6-4 now. They just lost to Florida. They're out of the top 25. It's a night game at LSU. I don't care. Give me Vanderbilt to beat LSU tonight. I'm sorry, this LSU team is dead. Vanderbilt is having fun on their year. Give me Vanderbilt tonight. Virginia Tech taking on Duke tonight here. Give me Duke to win this one. I just don't think Virginia Tech really cares that much. They're 5-5 on the year. They would love to be in a better spot. They had some great chances, to get that AC title game. But really, since they lost week 1, it feels like they've kind of been out of it. So give me Duke in that one, even though they're actually the underdog in that one, which is kind of surprising. 10:30 USC taking on UCLA. You know what? UCLA. Give me UCLA over USC tonight here. USC is just having a terrible year overall. UCLA is just here to have fun. And now, the game of the day. Number 5, Indiana will travel to the number 2, world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes in the shoe today. College game day is there. Big noon kickoff is there. I mean, why wouldn't they be there? They go to Ohio State every week. Anyways, this small, not really known football team in Indiana has a new head coach who didn't get a coaching chance until he's 50 years old. Fuentes finally got an offer at a D3 school, then went to JMU. Look what he did there. And then went to Indiana, said, Google me, and look what he's done for this team. He said, we're going to win the last 3 games of the year. We're going to beat Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. We're going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. He didn't say that, but he was pretty much saying that. For my prediction. Cut that. You know what? Give me Indiana to beat Ohio State today. I don't care. Say I'm a going to be wrong. Indiana beats Ohio State. This Indiana team is finally going to start getting taken seriously after this one. And this might be the worst pick I'll make all year, but I don't care. Give me Indiana to go into the shoe and beat the Buckeyes. So I'm taking Indiana over Ohio State today. That will wrap up the Saturday podcast, the Saturday YouTube video here. What a day of college football. Enjoy it, folks. This is the second to last full slate of the year. And yeah, enjoy it.